Yeah, yeah. Gun done. Yeah. The hit his toes up. I replaced the T for C, nigga. I'm hit his calls up. You dig?
I cannot say enough about mental health. I really cannot. I'd love to remain objective. I would love to educate you, but maybe it's not my place. Maybe, like I said, we need medical professionals and trained therapists. But I want to make you aware that these disorders exist. They exist in all of us. There's a myth, and I'm going to share this, that mainly people that work in the creative industry suffer from mental health and depression. Especially in Uganda, we've seen cases where, you know, people seem to be losing it. So they're using certain, I would call them crutches to survive. I want to just disassemble that myth. Let's just kind of break down these disorders. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is normally a result of trauma. It's people that have been through really life-changing experiences like war, violence, rape, abuse, suffer a lot from PTSD. They get flashbacks of the incident. They cannot exist. They cannot function in an environment of either peace or normality because that event changed the way they were wired. They cannot wipe that trauma out of their brain. And what ultimately happens, a lot of these guys commit suicide. But here in Uganda, again, I'm not sure if we do have support groups for this. Most of the time, we fear what we don't understand. So we label these guys crazy and just go on with our lives. There's the anxiety disorder, which is suffered, I think it's suffered by everyone. Anxiety disorder is where you're so worried about something of uncertain outcome that you start to make yourself sick. You start to lose sleep. You have no appetite. You lose interest in anything that used to make you happy, you know. People fear to talk about what they feel, which is what a disorder is. You cannot tell someone that I cannot function because I'm crippled by worrying about something that I can't control the outcome, or I don't know what the outcome is. I personally think that anxiety disorder is the most prevalent and the most common one. And you get people in today's high stress environment literally living with it. You see increased physical activity where they wring their hands, where now there's a new thing where they pop a Valium or whatever it takes to bring them down from wherever they are or to escape reality. And then, of course, there's the personal disorder. That is where someone will tell you, I can't do A, B, C, and D unless I do A, B, C, and D. I cannot sing unless I drink. I cannot go into public unless I'm high on something. I cannot leave my house unless I'm dressed in yellow. There's all these, they seem ridiculous to the normal mind. Basically, what is normal? Normal is subjective. But to the normal mind, when you're listening to someone with a personal disorder, they sound ridiculous. And yet to them, they're so traumatized at the inability of not being able to, no, at the inability of doing something unless an event happens first or unless they acquire something first. Then there's a psychotic disorder, which is basically associated with the brain. That one is whereby the neural cavities in the brain are affected and someone can no longer function on a normal, in a normal range. Psychotic disorder is basically a chemical imbalance in the brain, completely out of the human control. And these disorders are so prevalent. You know, we like to tell people to tell us what we can do to help them. Or we actually tell them, you know what? I will take you to the doctor. Without taking the time to study what gets them. You know, when I was little, my brother had a compulsive disorder to keep washing his hands. He would wash his hands everywhere he would just find soap. He would constantly be wanting to wash his hands. And that is what's anxiety disorder, because he didn't know what would happen if he got germs on his hands. Like, he had had this class in school and they had said that germs are, it sounds ridiculous, but these things exist and they take over, and they take over your mental health. They affect the way you think, you feel, you exist. I can't say enough for mental health, and I implore people to be open-minded, that someone is not broken when they're mentally ill, that you just have to figure out to help them cope. And most of the time, I would say with mental health, I would recommend that you seek medical help. So, seek medical help so you don't misdiagnose someone. If you see someone acting erratic, for us, we consider it a waste of money in our culture to try and take them to the hospital. Other people use pills. There's something called fluoxetine. And, in Uganda, you can go to the pharmacy and just get any drug without needing a prescription, without understanding what this does and what the side effects are. And some of these medical pills that we pop, like Valium, fluoxetine, Oxycontin, and one can't control the outcome of all of them. But I implore people that when something like that happens, seek medical help, seek a therapist. Don't consider it a waste of money. And when you see someone suffering, again, do not ridicule them. Do not make them a meal for your gossip, for your ridicule. Do not share their trauma on social media. Do not make them feel like they're a lot more worthless than they already are, because mental health is a very, very complicated issue. I think we need to educate ourselves. I think we need to be aware that we are all affected in some way. We also do things unconsciously that could possibly be mentally detrimental. And we just laugh it off, or just say, that person's like that because his dad was like that. And we forget that it just might be some sort of disorder that could be caused by environmental factors, genetics, biochemistry, personal issues. Mental health is a serious problem, and we need to address it.
Yeah. Done. Yeah. The hit is toes up. I replace the T for C, nigga. I'm hit his calls up. You dig?